Hi folks, so welcome back to Salty Tarot. I had this idea. I saw Divine Empress doing a reading where she was comparing what they really think, what you think they think versus what they really think, or how you think they feel. Sorry, my cats are going bonkers in the background. How you think they feel about the connection versus how they really feel. And I might plagiarize that going forward, but then I had an idea. I've got a little booklet sitting next to me from a children's toy, an electronic toy, that says what's in the box and what you need. And so, what's in the box is all the things, all the components that you're supposed to check for when you open the box, and then what do you need to put it together. So I thought that would be a cute take on the idea. And I also, she sort of did a reading for one and then a reading for the other. But I think I'm going to just pull like card by card and we'll see how that goes. So we're looking at, this is a collective reading, timeless reading for whenever you're accessing it. And we're going to be looking at what's in the box within your connection. So what sort of came in with the connection. What did the connection come in with? What did you come in with? What did your person come in with? Maybe we can look at each of those things separately. But generally, sort of what came in with the connection, and then what does the connection need in order to flourish? So what do you need to add? What does your person need to add? What do you need to collectively work on in order for the connection to reach its highest potential? Oh my goodness, they are just chasing each other around the house. Like the nocturnal predators they are. Okay, so what is in the box? What is in the box in this connection, Spirit? So 2 cards came out. I'll take it. 3. Well, that's a little more than I was planning on, but we'll go with it. Okay, and then what does the connection need? What do you need in this connection? Whoa. I haven't quite figured out how to get my hands around these cards yet. Oh, goodness. Come out. Down, please. Oh, no. Apparently what you need is transparency. One of the things you need is transparency because these ones all came out face down. These ones are coming out face up. Despite my attempts to be sneaky with them. Oh, no. That's too many. We're going to keep going and just get one, please, Spirit. One more card. So these cards they're a handful. So I might not read out all 3 of the descriptions, or all 6 of the descriptions. I only meant to get 1 on each side for these because they are quite a lot. But we'll see, maybe I'll see what feels like it's called for. 1 more card for what you need, please, Spirit. And I don't know, do we need 3? Apparently we do. Okay. Okay, the revealing. So for what you came in with in the connection, I didn't set any intentions for who came in with what, but I'm just going to check on those, how that's lining up. Straighten those out a bit. And then what you, actually let's pause there. We'll hold on to these for the, let's make them like that. Oh my goodness, there's a 4th sneaker card. Look at that. How sneaky is that? Oh my goodness. That is so sneaky. Well, I guess we're committed. I guess we're going in. Okay, so for what's in the box, we've got Autumn, we've got Oil of Vitriol, and we've got the Drowned King. So we're going to pull out the book, and I'm just going to have a little review of these, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so in a word, we've got bounty, purification, and humility. And so autumn is about the end of a cycle. So this might be, it might be that you're in a connection that is facing some challenge at this moment. Conversely, it could be that this connection came in kind of challenging. And, you know, maybe you were not friends when you initially met this person. Maybe there was some, maybe it was like a Pride and Prejudice sort of like bonking, bashing of heads. What is the expression? When two people, you know, knock their heads together metaphorically, what is the word for that? Sorry, I ate a candy while I was contemplating. A lovely vegan candy. I'm so excited about the existence of vegan candy in the grocery store that all bets are off. I lost some weight last year, and now that I've discovered vegan candy, I feel like bring it on. Okay, it's getting to be squirrel o'clock over here. All right, so oil of vitriol. I have not looked up the fable, but the guidebook talks about the green king. No, that's over here. King's over here. The green lion eating the sun. And so I'm not sure what the significance of that is, but you may wish to look it up. You may be familiar already. But it talks about essentially being consumed by the lion, being a part of us, of any spiritual path, sort of being in the mouth of the lion, and that the sun then burns brighter, shines brighter afterwards. And so it's sort of like, I take it that it's the stage of transformation where what is not needed is stripped away, sort of like a tower moment. It does kind of sound like a relational tower moment. So whether you're in a relationship that's, you know, started in lovely ways and then has ended up here, or whether this is a relationship that maybe came in a spirit of purification. It's really interesting. There's this gold sun here. This kind of looks like a gold stone to me. And then this tree, I don't know if you can see, but it's like decorated in the same golden balls. Oh, the golden balls. And there's more kind of floating through this as bubbles in the drowned king over here. And the drowned king, these look like, I imagine there's some manner of sea creature, but they're looking to me like drowned dragonflies at this moment. Which is an interesting, it's like, we've got fire, we've got earth, we've got water, and it's almost like we've got air with the drowned dragonflies. I don't think that's what they're intended to be in this card, but my eyes are starting to blur as it's getting late in the night. Okay. So, excuse me. So autumn is about bounty, sort of being at the end of a cycle, like near the end of a cycle, but at the fruition stage. And it talks about being grateful towards the community. I guess that's sort of a Thanksgiving theme coming through. But just like being aware of the gifts one is receiving them, collecting them, and sharing them. And specifically that, you know, as that harvest comes in, it is to be shared. And so just being in that like very generous, you know, like stage of bounty. And then we've got this purification element over here. So it might be that somehow this connection has come in feeling like just such an abundance for you. But at the same time, it's stripped you of, and maybe both of you, of what did not serve. You know, maybe there was an element of like if acidity was referred to in the description of this, so purification, but also acidity. So maybe it's that there's like a sort of acid action that the connection between you has had on, like essentially acid would be that substance that is, I'm not familiar with it. I mean, I know the word vitriol, but I was not aware vitriol was an actual substance. Oops. Ooh, squirrel. This is ash from Burning Man, from the Burned Man at Burning Man. And I could probably not tell you what year. Actually, it's probably 20. Let's see. It's probably 2022. We're going to go with that without me having to think too hard. What year is it? Yes, that sounds right. Oh, and now we got a little bit of it on the oil of vitriol's sun. Yeah, and so it might be that this connection, like maybe even like the bounty within this connection has brought in some purification and is sort of just like, or maybe there's like maybe there's an intense connection that magnetized you both in right away, and then has, maybe there's been kind of working at cross purposes following that, and or like some disparities in what each party wanted, or like just some kind of, there might have been some conflict, or just some like sort of missing each other, and it's possible, like this does tend to go together, like where there's strong magnetism, there is also those strong reactions can come up in other areas, and they have the effect of, like, I want to say burnishing. I'm not sure if that word means what I want it to in this moment, but like taking, when there's a patina on bronze, or on how copper sculptures tend to get that sort of natural green patina on them. And so I'm imagining this sort of acidic element is what strips that away and brings the bronze back to its natural color or its original patina, underneath the sort of corroded layers. Strips away the corrosion. That's what I'm trying to say. And so once you've stripped away that corrosion, like the act of stripping away the corrosion is humbling. And so the Drowned King, it says that the king element is like the ego, that sort of, I was about to say super ego. I guess king is appropriate to the term super ego, but sort of like the, like where we feel like we're in control, where we want to be in control, where we think we are in control, and where we're quite fancy about it. Like we believe that we deserve to sort of be up on the pedestal, and anyway, and so then the Drowned King would be like that stripping away of ego. And so it might even be that this is like a really intense, beautiful, gorgeous, bountiful, fruitful, fecund connection that scares the crap out of you, and has been really humbling insofar as it's like stripping you down to your bare soul and stripping you of ego just by the force of the love that's there. So I did mention these alchemy cards go right in. That's why I wanted to get one of them. I just wanted to, like, they go for the jugular, and I felt like, sinking teeth into one body part would have been sufficient, but we've managed to strip the ego away, get down to soul, and be completely passionately overtaken by this connection. So anyway, that's what's in the box. And so my idea was that I would do this with multiple cards. I was going to go like 1, 1, 1, 1, but with this one I wasn't planning to get more than one. It just kind of happened. Maybe that's part of the connection. Maybe that's part of what's been in the box, but conversely, what you need is even more so, even more alchemy than what's come in. So let's flip him over and see what we got. This cheeky assemblage of 4 cards. Cheeky spirit, that I guess was the last in the line. How are we going to arrange these? Oops. That's why that's not making sense. That's probably off the screen. Yes, it is. You can come over here. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out at me is that these have an overwhelming presence of gold, and these have an overwhelming presence of silver. Like, we literally have silver here. We have ash, which has a silvery, sort of triangle on it. We've got tin. And then the Spiritus Rector, the Benevolent Guide, has silver balls. So in the same way that there's gold balls over here, this has silver balls. And 4 of them. And there's 4 things here. There's 4 things here. Like, each of these images has a central, like, these are quite narrative, and nothing is dead center in each of them. But in each of these cards, there's a dead center, and then there's some things arranged around the center, including, here there's very clear parallels in where the symbols are and where these balls are. And silver balls, silver balls. I will stop there. It's dawning on me ever since I accidentally hummed that one word from Zombies. Someday. And the rest of that was, I'll do it, I'll actually sing it. I'm very self-conscious about singing, but it's dawning on me that this is a way to amuse my tarot. What would the word for you be? Piles. I was going to say readers, but that would be me. Watchers. That seems not quite glorious enough. We need better terms for piles, and we need better terms for watchers of tarot readings online. Please, suggestions in the comments. I would be so pleased to have some new suggested vocabulary. In any event, what did I say? Squirrel o'clock. Okay, so it's really interesting how the parallels here. This card, I like, for what reason did I pick up this ash and start talking about the ash? Like, I had not looked at these cards. I hadn't flipped them. I mean, I guess I flipped them over, and maybe subconsciously I might have caught that. But what I do remember seeing was the bee. I don't remember seeing any of the rest of these, or noting the words or anything. I would not have gotten ash from that image. I've never seen that card before today, so this is a new deck. I have seen this one before in other readings, but in any event, for some reason I felt compelled to pick up this, like, just out of nowhere. Remember I said squirrel? As in, like, ADHD distraction moment of, like, oh look, I should talk about this ash randomly out of nowhere. And so one of your cards here for what do you need in this connection is ash. And the description of ash talks about, like, here, I'll keep holding this piece of once part of the Man of Burning Man in the year of our Lord 2022. I have so many things to say about that, but I'll refrain right now. Okay, so calendars and, approximations of the birth dates of ascended masters and the seasons in which they were born, etc., etc. Anyway, I think if you're familiar, you'll know where I'm going with that ranty tangent. No need to actually speak it. It probably has to do with whatever cards I pull next, but it feels tangential at the moment. Okay, so ash. The description talks about how ash is a transformation. First of all, it says that the ash has a subtle effect of going sort of over all of the other cards in the reading. And, that it's like quite a presence, but it's a very subtle presence. And it says to contemplate the lightness of ash, but also about how ash is it's like the residue that is left after something has completely changed structure, after it's become unrecognizable from what it was. If I held up this piece of ash, you would not have known that this came from the man at Burning Man. There is no indication of the art piece that this was a part of in this piece of ash, except maybe if you analyzed it chemically. But, just looking at it. And I also note that it's quite silvery. Do you see that? And I happen to have silver nail polish, so everything's kind of coming together, it feels. Ooh, I like it when that happens. I know there's ash very subtly all over all of the other cards. And then silver talked about reflection and how and I gather, historically as well, but from the alchemist perspective, how the goal is gold, right? And now understanding why there's so much gold in all of the images of this deck. But it looks like what is needed is a little bit more like you've got the gold that came in the box, but what you need to put it all together is a little more of the silver. And so you need a little more reflection. It talks about silver sort of being in this like second best status, and it's almost like overlooked was what I was getting from that. So it's necessary yet overlooked. And it talks about polishing, sort of like a Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Is that, I don't, maybe clap on, clap up. It is definitely squirrel o'clock. Okay, throwing out like random 80s references to movies and commercials that probably nobody watching this reading has actually seen. Speaking into the void, the 80s void. That's kind of funny on so many levels, but only if you know the 80s. Anyway, I can't remember what this was. I imagine it's some kind of snake, and then there are these symbols that were not defined in the guidebook, but I'm sure have potent meanings. It talked about how from the alchemist's perspective, silver is second best. Like it's what you're trying to transform into gold. And the reason it's second best is because it requires upkeep. It requires polishing. And so it talks about polishing as a practice and makes the point that while gold just kind of shines on its own accord, silver requires relationships. It requires being in relationship. So gold just shines on its own. Silver will only shine if you tend to it, if you continuously tend to it. So you cannot just leave your silver on its own and expect it to shine. It can't be alone and shine. It requires your participation. It requires your tending. It requires your polishing. You gotta polish your silver, my friends. And so kind of what I'm getting now is like, this is, the independence of standing alone, being great on one's own. And then there's there's like a stripping down and that might be a Freudian slip, but like a humility, a process of distillation that is getting, sort of getting rid of the ego of, independence, thinking that you're great all on your own. And, if you want to be in relationship with another person, that does require tending. It requires a total transformation. Like the king is drowned. This thing that was like the great shining sun, the light has been, and of the fire element, right? The king, the light, the sun, that's the fire element, the ego. And if that king is drowned, then that king is immersed in emotions, right? So it's almost like the vitriol that is stripping away what is not essential is happening through this catalyst of getting deep, deep down into emotions, going into the heart. And, maybe those dragonflies are settling down on the bottom of this ocean, of this emotion ocean. And, and then there's a transformation that's happening. So, again, through this catalyst of, not to mix metaphors, but, the water is the fire. And so that water is totally transforming the drowned king. And it talks about how once the king is drowned, he comes back as the benevolent king. And so that process of transformation it's like, this is the benevolent king, is kind of how I'm seeing it. He's not very pretty, but he is kind of. But he's at least totally unrecognizable from like the fiery, shining bright, like now he's ash, right? And so like a sort of vestige of his former self, but in a way that, what can you do with ash? You can get new fires going with it. and so it's not just shining on its own, it's actually helping. It's like the helper fire, right? I'm talking about embers in this case. You can use it to write, you can use it to communicate, you can use it to color. Like these are all relational things. And I don't know where this is even coming from, but I feel like I'm almost reaching a little bit, but the words are just kind of coming through at the same time. In any event, there's a complete structural transformation that results in this substance that has, just kind of like whisked its way, even just in picking this up and contemplating it. Like, my fingers are black. There's little bits of black all over the reading. As it said, like it does put a sort of a fine coat of itself all over everything else, it's like a marker of the transformation. And, and so that's bringing us into this relational silver quality. Tin was Jupiterian, and it talked about how tin is made up of crystals, and that crystalline structure that's why tin why it's so malleable, why it can be broken easily, because it's formed out of these crystalline structures that are easy to break. And it seemed to be talking about this like it was a good thing. And, but it's kind of like the Drowned King in another form, I guess. So it comes in as tin, and then it, talks about like the cry of the tin. So that's why tinfoil crinkles. And, allowing yourself to like cry out if in the process of your drowning transformation, becoming ash. Here's where I was going with that. Ash is, or specifically charcoal, is one of the best things that you can put in your compost as a fertilizer, or on your garden as a fertilizer. Like it's full of nutrients that are quite good for plants and for facilitating the next harvest. And, if you're, for example, like if you're growing your own food, one assumes that you're growing food not just for yourself, but for a family, chosen family, biological family. There's some kind of care and tending that goes into having a garden, growing a garden. And so, it is sometimes the case that you take things that have been broken down and you put them into that garden in order to give it nutrients to create the next harvest, the next fruition, the next generation, the next cycle. To bring up the next generation, you have to take what remains of the waste product, the byproduct of the last generation, right? Like we literally used to put human feces into our gardens. That was back when human feces was not full of chemicals and hormones and things that could alter your food in unsavory ways. It was an actual fertilizer, and still is in many places, especially in sustainability circles. So tin, it talks about sort of expanding in a Jupiterian sense, and I've been on a bit of a Wizard of Oz kick of late, so I was sort of getting, the sense that like the expansion is, the heart, the Tin Man finding his heart. And I'm just going to go back to the description for one quick second, because I feel like there's something I'm slightly missing. So the tin is it can be about reaching a breaking point where like tin's not very strong. It needs reinforcement. It needs support. So before you take it to the next step, before you alchemize it into whatever next function that it's going to have for you, it needs support. And so again, that's a relational quality, right? So what you need is, to support this process of, the breaking down of the ego, the transformation of the self in relationship. This is a lot more ass kicking than I was planning on this reading being. I really thought it would be just a fun sort of comparison, card to card, like, what's in the box? 10 of Swords. What do you need? King of Cups. Like, that's kind of how I saw it going. Maybe not that's intense in and of itself, but I thought it would be kind of a fun comparison back and forth. And here I got sucked into like an actual reading, and it's a pretty intense one at that, with some very alchemical truths, hard-hitting alchemical truths. And but it's really interesting that we're alchemizing gold into silver. I quite like that. The feminist in me quite likes the symbology of that. Sort of a little gleeful at this moment, because there is this, like, we have traditionally in Western culture at least prioritized, like hyper prioritized individuality, fending for yourself, being self-sufficient, not burdening anybody else with what you need, like meeting your own needs, that sort of kingly, egoic, standing alone has been like prized and valued and seen as, what we should all strive for, what we all need to be in order to be well looked upon. And in fact, what we actually need to be in successful relationship with each other, with the world around us, with the rest of the animals on this earth, with, like, we're going beyond the earth at this point. Like, we're reaching our tentacles of damage out into space now. And, what we actually need is to strip away that ego, drown it in love, in emotions, in the recognition of our interconnectedness, and be in relationship. And that means, spreading this fine ash of, the awareness of transformation over everything. It means reflection. It means polishing. It means holding space for being, relationality, being in relation with others. And the awareness that we need to tend, we need to polish, we need to tend our relationships, we need to tend ourselves, we need to tend each other, we need to tend to the interrelationship between us. It doesn't just stand alone. It's like a relationship won't just stand. It, you can take a photograph of you and your person and put it on the wall, and it might be the best photograph and it might stand alone. But even that is gonna, you're gonna have to like polish the glass at some point. Otherwise the ash will make it all dusty. And anyway, so, the relationship itself is not that figurehead of, the image on the wall. Like, it's a radical being presentness within the relationship, right? So what you need is to be attentive to whatever the present moment is, whatever is actually happening in your connection, and being alive to that, allowing it to transform you, allowing it to transform the relationship, to transform itself, allowing it to transform your partner into this, I want to say cohesive sort of interrelationship of tending to each other, tending to the relationship. I don't know, I've said the word tending about 10,000 times, so I think perhaps the idea has come across, but I don't know, vocabulary is failing me, and then calling in support, like, you're not alone, you're in a community, you probably already have an idea of where you can turn to for support, and, like, maybe you don't know how to polish silver. Maybe you don't know how to tend a relationship, like, but you have people around you, even if they're not people that you know by name, you might know them by profession, like counselors, like counselors who assist with relationships, or maybe alchemists, or massage therapists, like couples massage therapy, like, I don't know. There's all kinds of healing modalities. There's all kinds of, maybe like the orchestra, the symphony, maybe that's your support. Like, there's all kinds of ways to polish your silver that I'm just getting a kick out of using the word polish in this context. Relational polishing. Uh-huh. Make sure you polish your silver bowls. Silver bowls. It's silver time in the city. Okay. See them ring. Jingling. Okay, I'll stop there. Uh-huh. And so we have benevolent guide, spiritus rector. Yeah, no, okay. Let us stay on track here. So I'm going to actually read this one out because it was quite delicious. I used tarot cards as bookmarks, and the one that came out for the spiritus rector was the Five of Cups in reverse. So that's kind of a lovely suggestion of coming out of some difficult energies or energies of regret and spilled cups into perhaps better times ahead. This is way longer than I intended the entire reading to be, but I am going to just pull some lighthearted cards after this. Haha, she said optimistically. Okay, benevolent guide, inner voice, guide, ally. How easy it is to doubt the presence of spiritus rector. The alchemist, falling into a moment of forgetfulness, feels alone in the laboratory and begins to doubt their work. Disarray and discontent follow. Who do I listen to? Where do I turn for guidance? All the while, the benevolent guide hovers close, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be heard amidst the noise of the world. It whispers words of kindness and encouragement into the ears of the alchemist. When this card appears, it asks us to recall the guidance we have received at important junctures in our life. That benevolent presence is constant, not conditional. Now is not the time for struggle or fear. Soften into the gentle humming of the wise bee. You cannot make a wrong choice when the spiritus rector is near. To ponder, the wind is messenger. Building connection with the spiritus rector requires us to engage with the unseen world, the realms barely visible and rarely discussed. Close your eyes and begin. Oh, I think part of this ash card as well was ancestors. And so we're sort of coming full circle here. So, and sort of being aware of the past and being able to hold that as sort of like a rootedness. And that might be part of the support. You know, your support might be something in the material 3D world that you can call in, but it might also be calling to your ancestors, calling to your guides, calling in your spirit team, and, you know, asking for like your guides of the highest light, your ancestors of the highest light to support your connection and to support you learning to tend, learning to polish. I'm sorry, I just, you know, if the irreverence isn't there, then the reverence can't be there either, for me at least. They go together. So, you know, you have what you need within you, and it might be that you need to learn some new skills. You might literally need to learn new skills, new relational skills, and the thing about relationships is they are learned, right? We come into the world alone. We don't, you know, again, that's a bit of a Western fiction, isn't it? Because we don't. We come into the world through the body of a mother. At least, you know, most of us to date have done so. Who knows where we're going in the future? But I think even just recognizing that we don't come into the world alone. We come into the world in a relationship. We come into the world already, you know, being tended to, and, or, you know, in relation with someone who might be failing to attend to us in some cases, and learning to tend to ourselves, you know, not as a moral value, but as, you know, survival necessity. But we're already in relationship right from the beginning. And, you know, it was said that we come into the world alone and we die alone. And, you know, whether your actual moment of death takes place with others around or not, that moment must be tended to by other humans after the fact, at the very least, if not during. So, I feel like this myth of independence is like, there's definitely a call here too. Like, you come in with the independence, each of you, and in the sort of golden light of magnetism and attraction, maybe you're showing off for each other. Like, maybe that's part of the early courtship, and that's what you come in with. But then there's like this transformative process that alchemizes, that kicks off, and catalyzes you into this intense learning of how to call in your guides, how to call in your support, how to call in your, maybe your parents have some wisdom about. Sorry, didn't mean to laugh. I was just thinking about the baby boomers, and I mean, they broke down relationships and then they tried to build them back up. I feel like we threw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. But, and then, the children of the baby boomers is my generation, which is, I refer to as the Pluto and Libra generation, i.e. the ones that I'm quite sure the divorce rate is a little higher than, I've heard it said that couples with young children, 3 out of 4 of those couples don't make it past age 4 of the children. And so that's counting, procreating couples who are not necessarily married, so are not factoring into the 50%, so-called 50% divorce rate, which I'm sure must be higher for my generation. And I'm not sure about the generations after. Hopefully y'all can pull some of that, relationality back into families, chosen families, like how we build community and structure into our lives, rather than standing alone and thinking that is the value, like stripping that away and learning how to call in support and be okay with calling in support. Like, that is a hard lesson if you've been standing in those independent energies for quite some time. And I can tell you, pregnancy is the best catalyst for getting right out of your ego and having to figure out how to call on support and be okay with it. And conversely, if you were, caretaking someone who is pregnant, that is its own journey of, drowning, shall we say. I think there's drowning on both sides when you, are transforming your life for the sake of another human, whether that human is the one that's gestating inside of your body or one that you have chosen to be with, or that you have been so magnetized by that it's almost like you just cannot help but transform. And yeah, okay, so that was quite a lot more intense and quite a lot longer duration than I was intending. That was, just the first of 5 decks I was planning to get. So we might have to truncate. I think I may just jump straight to tarot. I feel like that's really set and I'm just going to leave these cards out, actually. I feel like we've set like a really, really powerful container. I'm going to jump over to the Tarot of Mystical Moments, and not the one I was pilfering from to take bookmarks. I was even planning to use these future higher self cards. They're just frivolous and silly in some ways. They've got pictures of like cartoon things. On the bottom we have decisions, the need to gain clarity through decision making. So maybe there's some decision making that needs to happen, in this transformation, for what that's worth. But yeah, let's get some tarot. And I'm going to revert to, I might have to do a part 2 of this, because I feel like it is a potent theme. And it is possibly the first time that I've just felt inspired by a theme that I came up with entirely myself. That wasn't derivative of other tarot readings I've watched. And I'll show you. I'm literally sitting next to this, I was staring down at this, thinking about doing this sort of, what do you think they feel versus what do they actually feel reading, and I was staring at this page as I was thinking that through, just not even seeing it. And then my eyes just caught the words, what's in the box, what you need. And I still was reading the words without having any, associating them with any kind of meaning. And then it just kind of hit me. Okay, so now we're going to do a card by card, I hope. Because I found that, like, so the reading that inspired this, she started out that way, and then she ended up doing a full reading. Which, like, I see the value of as well, but I really liked the sort of lightness and quickness of just pulling, you know, one card for each thing. And we could even, you know, I see different ways that it could go. Like, it could be, like, for example, let's talk about the past of this connection. So we'll get a card for, yeah, does that work with that theme? We'll get a card for what's in the box. And so we've got the King of Swords in reverse. And so as a card reflecting on the past, then we're going to pull in what you need. So maybe what you need to be in relationship with that past card. Because we're still talking about the past. So what do you need? What does the relationship need? What does the connection need? Oh my goodness. And we've got Ace of Wands. Okay, so that's beautiful. So King of Swords in reverse is about everything that, you know, is toxic about the sort of Western concept of independence, or, you know, the king standing on one's own. It can talk about misuse of power, misuse of authority, sort of a domineering, dictatorial energy. And so perhaps in the past, this, you know, maybe there was some domineering energies in this connection, or some, you know, toxic masculinity, and or just like a heart chakra blockage. You know, the King of Swords is as far from emotions as you can get, and then the King of Swords in reverse is like, I'm reading it as a doubling down of that. So it might also refer to muddled thinking, can refer to manipulation, sort of manipulating a situation to fulfill selfish desires. So, and then the Ace of Wands is like this very, you know, she's holding a book. She's got a flower blooming out of a book. There's lots of green. There's lushness in the background. It's a very earthy Wands card. But it's very much referring to, you know, like growth, fecundity, you know, like what bursts forth sort of unexpectedly. Like she's, you know, off in her realm of contemplation, and all of a sudden there's a flower just growing right out of her book, out of her lap. And, you know, it refers to passion. So creativity, being inspired. So, you know, maybe there's something about where this connection has been in the past that can be sort of brought forth into, I mean, sexuality is one way that, you know, seems to be suggested for addressing whatever energies are here, like just getting into the sort of the sexiness of the connection, and just like being aware of the fertility of it, like being present. The Ace of Wands is about being radically present. And, you know, again, I see this as like, you know, the gold and silver sort of relationality, call to relationality and presence that I was seeing with these cards as well. Let's look at your person's, what is your person, I'm going to get that one. what's in the box in respect of your person with this connection? We've got the Five of Cups. And what does your person need to bring into this connection? We've got the Magician in reverse. So Five of Cups is the energy of, I wonder what card I pulled earlier that I thought it was the Five of Cups, but it was not this card. So Five of Cups is about regret, feeling like sort of turning away from being in the emotions, but in the sadness of the emotions, feeling like that sort of heartbreak of knowing one can't fix something, or wanting to fix something, just sort of doing maybe the emotional work of realizing that the thing needs to be fixed. And so it might be that your person came in feeling, maybe they were feeling regret over a past relationship. Maybe they are now feeling regret over something that happened between you. And it looks like what they need to be focusing on is, what their spirit team is probably encouraging them to focus on, is realizing that they have what they need in order to fix the situation, in order to bring in the apology or the restitution or whatever needs to happen, like whatever would transform this Five of Cups into a better feeling relationship between you. Your person is feeling like they don't have what it takes, or like they don't know what to do, but they need to realize that they've got it inside themselves. They've got everything they need inside themselves to transform this connection into a better energy. And they need to, be aware of, like, sort of get out of the energy of that Five of Cups and be cognizant of their own gifts and their own, like, what they bring to the connection that they can then use to advance the connection and bring it to a better place. And can we get the viewers current energy in this connection? Or sorry, what did the viewer, what's in the box with the viewer? What did the viewer bring into this connection? We've got strength. And what does the viewer need to bring into the connection? We've got Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So I was wondering if the Strength card, I wasn't necessarily wondering if it would come through, but I was thinking of it as a parallel to this Oil of Vitriol card over here. And, in a way, we've got the same kind of thing going on. Strength is Leo energies, and Leo is the sun. It's also the lion. And so the idea that the lion eating the sun is a form of purification, is like a burnishing away of what does not serve, distilling down to what does, is also the same idea that comes through here. So strength can be about, being strong, being resolute, sort of avoiding temptation. But this, to me, the strength in the tarot deck is more, and I mean, it can have, a variety of meanings depending on the context, but to me, it's always meant more like embracing your shadows, being vulnerable, and knowing that your vulnerability is your strength. It can also refer to the strength of your passions, like the degree of attachment to the connection. You might be very attached to the connection, or you might have come in with that energy. Or you might have come in with just this sort of invulnerability, this kind of like independence energy of having tamed your own beast and, not being swayed by another person. And it might be that you're going through this process of transformation that has been quite humbling with the Drowned King. That's kind of more where I would be leaning, is that maybe it is referring to some independence and just like self-control that now is sort of being called into question. And, like the meaning that I mentioned earlier feels like more like this kind of like over here we've got strength as resisting temptation, keeping control. Over here we've got like what I would consider the real strength, which is embracing the shadow, not just taming the beast, but like befriending the beast, like she's like in the traditional tarot, she's got her hands in the jaws of the lion, and it's sort of like she's overpowered the beast. But this is more like a gentle, like co-creation with the beast, with the inner lion, with, that raw strength inside that could do damage, but it is also very loving. Like Leo is the sign of love. And, the sun and the lion are both about being in those loving energies and, and realizing that the vulnerability is the necessary, it's the condition of possibility for being in relationship with another person. You can't have an authentic connection with somebody else without being vulnerable, and that's not the price you pay. It's your strength. That is the gold, that is, or rather the silver in this case. And anyway, so it might be that that's what you've come in with. That might even be going through a process of transformation from one of those energies to the other through this connection. And with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. With the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, this card talks about missed chances. And so I'm this is where it'd be helpful to have Ace of Pentacles as action. But what I'm getting is that it's about, Ace of Pentacles is about giving gifts. It could be like receiving a gift. It could be an opportunity. And so reversed, it's sort of like a missed opportunity, or I was thinking like be less giving, and that is a possible meaning, but I think it's actually more about be alert. Don't be so much in your strength energies and this independence that you overlook the gift of this transformation that is possible here. Make sure that you're alive to the transformative potential of allowing your own vulnerability. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from that. Okay, let's look at what's in the box. What's a gift from Spirit in this connection? What's in the box as a gift from Spirit? Like, what is it that, neither of you had to work for? What is just sort of naturally present in the relationship between you? And the Queen of Cups came out with the Eight of Wands in reverse. So Queen of Cups, of course, is being in your heart chakra energies, love, just love, being, very much in the flow of love, compassion. Maybe you came in with compassion for each other or showed compassion to each other, or to each other's circumstances. Maybe that's like there's a very naturally, connected, flowing, compassionate energy between you, or a loving connection between you. Eight of Wands in reverse. Eight of Wands is about like action, sort of hitting the mark in communication. Eight of Wands in reverse might be like a slowing down. I'm just going to look that up. It might be that the feelings that are here have prompted some care. And we're back to the original reading here. So it might be that the feelings are here have prompted some care in respect of like just sort of a slow down, like a, you know, because the connection's so important to you both, it might be that spirit has sort of catalyzed this cultivation of patience and care in how you communicate. So, you know, whereas maybe if you cared less, you might speak more glibly. It's possible that because of the feelings that are here, you've been sort of called to tend to and polish your words, your communication, much more so than you might have done had the connection not been quite so intense. Can we just say the word aloud? I feel like that's the elephant in the room here. This connection's a little intense. Okay, what does spirit, what do you need in this connection from the perspective of spirit? So maybe your higher selves, your spirit guides, just spirit. What does spirit feel that you need in this connection? Four of Cups. Interesting. But the thing about this Four of Cups card is that it's very much a card of tending. And this person, I mean, the sort of literal meaning of Four of Cups is turning away from gifts that are given. But I really feel that this card, which I've had to come out in exactly one reading before, but I was really struck by this, you know, like the care that is going into this Four of Cups. So instead of having, you know, 3 cups, 3 of which have been drunk, you know, and then there's a 4th cup that the person is just like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I can't drink anymore. I don't care about that 4th cup. You know, instead it's like this person is sitting in a rainstorm and they're being very gently tended to by this mysterious goose swan, blue swan creature that, if anybody knows significance of blue swans now, I'm going to have to look that up, but not right now. But maybe you want to look it up right now. You can pause the video, and if you learn what it means, please leave it in the comments because I would love to have a conversation about it. In any event, this lovely creature of the air is holding earth. We're gonna go with air. It is a bird. This mini proto dinosaur is holding an umbrella over top of this person who, you know, would otherwise sort of be crying in the rain, and you know, they're providing this like shade, but like, you know, dryness. Like they're allowing, I mean, in one sense, this person, you know, maybe they need to get into their emotions and be in that rain. And, you know, maybe that's one's enabling. But it also, to me, it's an image of like care, and this person's just not noticing or heeding. Like, you know, this bird is in the rain, is holding the umbrella, and is facing the person, and is just like, it's just there's a lot of tenderness and just like it's like love is an action in this card. And so it feels to me like there's a call to bring awareness to whatever tending actually is happening already in this connection. Like I'm just very much getting this sense of like an independent person who's being tended to by the other, who's just kind of oblivious to it or closed off to it, and yet is benefiting from it. And, you know, they're like, all they really need to do is just become aware of that, you know, and appreciate. Maybe they don't even need to appreciate, you know, like acknowledge, verbalize, whatever. Like I'm sure, like, I don't know, do swans need to be verbally acknowledged for their good deeds? I don't know. Swans don't usually hold umbrellas over people anyway. So I feel like this one could definitely benefit from having their good deed acknowledged, and just, you know, their care and the fact that they want to be there in that moment holding that umbrella over that person. And, you know, but like maybe this person's not going to notice until that swan takes the umbrella away, right? Like that is kind of the enabling element of being in relationship and, giving one's love freely. There is a point at which we prevent other people from learning their lessons if we continue to tend and care if they're, turned away from us. Whereas if we, then move that umbrella over ourselves and tend to ourselves, they realize that they're out in the cold, and that they were benefiting from something that they no longer are, for what that's worth. So it might be that some reflection is needed, or, an awareness of like just not taking things for granted, I would say. Man, this is much heavier hitting reading than I was planning. It's beautiful though, like it's so just rich and full of like, I was gonna say like I'm not even sure what word that would have been, like potentiality, but that is such a dry word for like the juiciness that I was imagining as I was trying to find a word for it. Okay, I'm losing my voice and I need to get up early in the morning, so we're going to wrap this up shortly. So the last thing I wanted to ask was, what's in the box in terms of where this connection is headed? So like, what is kind of already established or known about where this connection is headed? What's sort of the expected outcome? What's in the box in terms of outcomes, given present factors, if present factors continue? What's in the box for this connection, for where this connection is headed? We have Three of Pentacles in reverse. And what do you need in order to bring this connection to its highest possible outcome? What is needed to bring this connection to the highest possible outcome? So we've got Three of Pentacles in reverse and Two of Swords. And I'm going to get the bottom of the deck energies. We've got Ten of Wands, which is about carrying some heavy burdens and sort of almost being buckled over by them. In this case, they're beautiful burdens. That's a card of relationality if I ever saw one. Three of Pentacles in reverse refers to working alone. So Three of Pentacles upright is about teamwork, working together, collaboration, and then reversed, it's sort of about like misalignment, working alone, and again, just being in those independence energies. So it almost looks as if this transformation is something that would have to be consciously chosen from this to this. And, the oil of vitriol, like it's almost like the gift of that needs to be seen. So like if there is some, conflict, even intense conflict that has happened between you, there is a gift in that. There's a really intense soul gift in that conflict. And I would say that there's a call to find it, to get into, to allow the humility, to allow the ego death, and to look towards the tending that could potentially bring up so much richness, so much like just that compost, that fertilizer to like grow the relationship and grow, generations out of this relationship. And I don't even mean that in terms of, children, although it could be that for sure. But there's like generations worth of creativity, fecundity, like fruition, benefit for each other, humanity, the earth. Like there's some kind of like very dramatic, intense, like soul mission here that has to do with this transformation. And what is needed to bring this relationship to its best possible outcome? A decision. Sorry to say, but there's a conscious decision that has to be made here. There's a balancing, a weighing, and there's, in my opinion, this reading is like very heavily leaning towards make the decision to move from independence to relationality. but that is, I think the decision is up to the people involved, and there's no outcome here, right? Like that is just making the decision is what is needed. Making a conscious decision. Maybe, taking off the blindfold, getting the leaves out of, or the hair, or whatever that is, out of one's eyes, and becoming aware of exactly what's going on here, and consciously choosing the path forward, whichever way that goes. And hopefully it goes like this. So we're going to leave it there. I was kind of thinking of getting advice cards, but I think the advice is all here. And that was unexpectedly rich. That was a really, really potent, beautiful reading. Yeah. So thank you for being here. And that was a journey. Please hydrate. Please go and get yourself a big glass of water and drink it all down. And, if this is resonating, if that was hitting you like it's hitting me, then like sit with it, like don't demand too much of yourself after this. Go and like seriously, replenish. Like if water's not your thing, have tea, have a glass of juice, like find that delicious thing in your fridge that you really, I just had an image of somebody shotgunning a beer. Don't do that. That's dehydrating. But like whatever it is that is your replenishing self-care, please do that. And allow this to integrate a little bit. Like go, have a bath, have a bubble bath. Maybe just lie down or sit. You could meditate, go to your mat, go to your sheepskin, and sit with it for a moment, and let things flow. Maybe you want to sit down with your journal for a little while. And remember to breathe. And I'm going to go do all those things too. Well, sleep. I'm going to sleep and drink lots of water. And so, yeah, please do like the video if this called to you. And please do subscribe, and if you do have a moment to go through and just kind of put some likes on some of my videos and like feed the algorithm, feed that, picturing like a massive jawed piranha, or what are those fish at the bottom of the ocean, like those ones with the huge teeth that have like their own little lures on them. Blanking on the name of them, but feed the beast by feed the algorithm beast by liking, subscribing, recommending, commenting. And commenting has the additional benefit that this will be a conversation, which would be really cool. The benefit of having a tarot reader who has very few subscribers is that I will read every single comment and respond to them. And it would be lovely to get into some back and forth, and I'm sure there's a world of wisdom out there, and I'd love for you to share yours with me and with the other folks reading the comments. And please subscribe, please come back for more. If you have time to even just like click on a video and let it play in the background, throw a like on it, that would be really helpful. And in terms of growing the channel. And my aim is to post lots of content, but like honestly, it's hard to, I keep setting the intention of posting content that is like, a little faster flowing, lighthearted. I don't think that's what I channel. I'm not sure that lighthearted is me exactly. I mean, it definitely is a facet of me. And I think I managed to do a good job of combining the like utter, like intensity of the readings with like kind of a lighthearted tone, but sometimes I worry that might not be appropriate in all circumstances. But anyway, as long as I try and stay with the compassion of it. Anyway, enough of the ramble. Thank you for being here. I hope this was as lovely for you as it was for me, because wow, that was a reading. Okay, take care. Remember to really, truly take care. Take care of self, take care of others, and remember your benevolent guide. Always there. Call on them. Call on your spirit team. Okay, bye. Thanks for being here.